Good morning, everyone. Good morning, all the farmers. This is Coach Malembili. I'm a farmer. I just want to welcome all of you in this speech that I'm going to be addressing now. In this topic, I want us to talk about many things that farmers are facing, many experiences that you guys go through. I want us to share the ideas. And I also want us to talk about the farming as itself, but mainly on the challenges that we as the producers, as the farmers, we tend to face, especially when we come to selling our produce, when we have to take our produce from the fields or from wherever we're getting to the market. So those are the things that I want us to go deep into. But yeah, other than the market, I just want us to talk farming as the business. I just want to get the ideas from you on what would you love to know, what would you love to hear from this conversation listeners, more especially when it comes to the market, when it comes to selling our produce. We just want to talk about the experiences that you once had, whereby you work hard on your soil, you work hard on producing whatever the fresh produce that you had to produce, but only to find that after you've put so much effort and you got the quality that you wanted, but now the challenge is who you gonna sell it to, or where are you gonna take your produce? Because even if you were to produce it, you can only produce to a certain amount that you can consume. You can also consume a certain amount of your produce, but most of the time we find that some of your produce end up getting spoiled or being damaged on the field because you don't know where to take it to take it to. That is where I have to come in. That is where I want us to deep dive and talk about these questions. So I will be asking more of the comments that you want, that you can share, more of the ideas that you want us to talk about. So I'm here to listen to you, and I'm also here to share some of the experiences that I've gone through and some of the experiences, some of the other producers, some of the other farmers, they had to go through. Maybe if I were to go a little bit more onto that, you found that we, the producers, we don't even understand where to start as the farmer. Okay, I want us to talk more on the things that you will never gonna get it here on social media. Things that you didn't know up until you got it from here. Okay, the first thing is most of the producers, most of the farmers, where do they start when they are farming, whenever they are planning on producing any produce that they want to do? First of all, we found that most of them, the biggest thing was to acquire the land. Then once you got the land, it was the challenge of maybe water. And then once they have water, and then it was the resources, which I need the resources, I need the equipment to work the land. Because if you're going like on a bigger scale from the garden to a commercial scale farming, you can't do it with your own hands. You can't do it with the people like without having to use power equipment. So those things, they are very costly. The tractors with different plows, different dashes, different equipment that you can use in your field. So those are most of the time the challenges that a lot of farmers, they tend to have the problem to acquire those things. And then once they've acquired those things, they've acquired the land, then the land probably has water, then they have the equipment. Then the biggest challenge is the inputs, the inputs. Because it's not just about the land and the water and the equipment of doing that, but the biggest challenge again is the inputs. We're talking about what the seeds that you're going to put there, if you're going to plant seeds directly on the soil, or the seedlings that you have to transplant. That is where most of the challenge comes from. So we will be dwelling more on those things that we need to talk about in a bigger depth that most of the upcoming farmers faces. Okay, once you've got these four things that I'm talking about, it's where you say, oh, no, I wanted to plant this. Most of the farmers that I've seen, that I've met along my experiences, my journey, I've realized that they start by planting, growing, and then start to look for the market. Yes, yes. Maybe you are also one of those. Or maybe that's how you think what you would do. Those are the challenges that we faced here, that we face in almost every day when we see the farmers. Then the question is, where do we start then? Where do we start? Do we start from planting? Excuse me, I just want to put this thing properly. Okay, where do we start then? Do we start from planting, or do we start from getting the market first? Where do you where do you start? And most of the time, the upcoming farmers, they are not clued up with this because it's hard to get this properly because you have to experience it. You have to go through of being the producer. And then whenever you've produced and not knowing where to get the produce, that's where you realize, no, I shouldn't be starting with the end. I should start from the end and go backwards. Okay, let me explain this. Instead of first acquiring the land, get the water, the water rights, and then get your equipment. That's sufficient. Those three, it's sufficient to start with the three. But now, before you put the seeds or before you get the inputs of whatever that you want to plant, it's very important to first get the market before you plant. Because if you're planting it for everyone, there are chances that no one might buy it. But if you start with the end from the beginning, it's easier to get to an end. Because most of the time, you experience that you get the farmers who produces beautiful, high quality produce. But they come to you and say, you know what, we don't have a market. We don't know where to take our produce to. Then you ask yourself, why did you produce it if you don't have a market? And also, maybe you too, you have gone through that. If you haven't gone through that, maybe you too, if you were to start farming, you would have done that, of which it's the biggest mistake that most of the farmers that have done. You found people producing beautiful cabbages. And then you ask them, where you going to take the cabbage to? I know that the Baki people will come and buy from me. Why are you doing that? Because I've seen others doing it. Okay, was it right like that? Yeah, I think that's the right way of doing it. Really? Yeah. But another farmers, the farmers or the commercial scale farmers that are farming professionally, they first get the market. Then they first get the person who would say, this is what I need, and I need it at that time, and I need so much quantities. And then you start planting going backwards. So those are the things that I want us to talk about on how do we do it and why do we have to do it like that? And then when you're doing it like that, you are planting in a sustainable manner. You are planting in a way that it's more profitable, it's more commercial, and you've minimized the risks if you were to start with the end, then starting and ending with what you have started with. So I just want to hear from you your comments on everything that I'm touching now on as we go along. That what are the other things that you want us to share here? What are the other things that you want us to talk about?